I must congratulate everybody for some wonderful, informative, comprehensive presentations that have come so far. We're now into the second session, and we will start with Monsieur Camille Jean-Marie Manel, who is the Executive Secretary of the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, ICCAT, and he will be speaking of the role of RFBs in supporting the United Fish Stocks Agreement implementation at the regional level.
Good morning, good afternoon also for those who are participating from the same, time zone as me. Okay, so thanking you again, and I would like first to thank the CRFM and the UN DOALOS for inviting ICCAT to be part of this discussion. And so we are really pleased to, to share some our experience in the implementation of this UNFSA. So so we would like to, to show you what is ICCAT. As you may see, we were born in 1966, and the convention entered into force 3 years later on. And as you see, so it has been predated, so the UNFSA, but we updated so the convention with a protocol that is yet to enter into force. So the Commission adopted so the amendment in 2019, but with some major things like the precautionary approach that was incorporated. So the ecosystem approach to fisheries management also. We expanded also the scope of the mandate, now covering so the elasmobrans that are oceanic, pelagic and highly migratory. So with those, we are currently 53 contracting and parties. The last one was Costa Rica, who joined formally. He was, cooperating, but now contracting since June. And our objectives, so as you see, as following. So we are looking for this maximum sustainable catch for food and other purposes. That is very important also. Covering a lot of species, as you may see, and also even while before amending to the convention, we were covering some species that are the other species that are not directly the tuna and tuna-like species as such, but we were covering those, the seabirds, sea turtle, so, and marine mammals. And as you may see, and I think also the colleagues from Belize and also from Barbados, they are members of ICCAT, and thank them for the efforts that are doing. Just to say that if you see, so for example, so the number of reporting requirements, it's we may discuss that during the questions, but it is now a burden for many countries, and that we know the Commission is also aware of this. It's becoming more and more a burden from the country, but it's important. And the thing is, as we will see, how we can do together to continue to improve and facilitate also the duties from the states. So what I have trying to do here is for this exercise to see how we are going to match so the principles in the UNFSA and also the functions that are specified also in the same agreement, and share also some main activities that ICCAT is busy on. And if you see with the how our structure is addressing all of these principles and also the core functions that are identified. And in this, the exercise I'm proposing is just to see how a matching exercise, if we can say so. But I will not insist on the principle and on the functions that are identified. They can be repeated in the cells. You see don't worry about that. It is just to see how, they are marching in some our different subsidiary bodies. So we have the commission itself, and we have all the standing committee on finance and administrations, and so the scientific committee and the different panels, as we will see others. But what I want you to take to grab from this is much what is on your right on the fourth column. So you have the example of ICCAT measures and activities. It is where so we can mostly show how we are addressing this, starting from the standing committee, the stack fact. So it is to put, of course, so the first thing is you have to be able, you need the means to do that. And so that committee is facilitating the budgets, the staff, and to organize the meeting, to make sure that people can discuss and decide, and this is important in addressing those. And also the procedures with the review of specific administrative and procedural in the decision making. So it is important also that discussions are taken within that. And also we may talk about that later on. Also a lot of not a lot, but a lot of possibility of capacity building. So you have funds specifically dedicated to that, with specific measures taken by the by the Commission, and facilitating also the improvement of the capacity building, specifically for developing countries that are targeted. So, and you have of course, so we can say the role of the scientific committee. So we have all our decisions that are underpinned by the scientific advice. We have recently had in late September, so the meeting of the standing committee that have provided its advice to the Commission. And currently now, many CPCs are working on the proposals that are depending on the advice from the SRS, just to table them in our annual meeting that some colleagues talk about in the previous presentations. So from 11 November until 18, so we will be meeting in Cyprus. And so we will be discussing in all of this. I'm not going to dig more about what science is doing, but it is a lot, and responding specifically with the methods. We agree about the best methods that are available for the assessment for all the studies. Also, we have currently more than 100 projects or contracts that we have specifically with many species, and covering a lot of items also that needs more information, that it's more science, to make sure that we have the best available advice to decide. So you have a lot undergoing there, and also a lot of capacity building in that within the SRS. Maybe probably those who have attended the SRS may know more about that. As for the panel, so you see all of the decisions. So the panels, depending on, we have 4 panels depending on which species they are covering mostly. So there are species or group of species. So the panel on the tropicals, I heard a lot. So they took some previous presentation talked about that, the tropical tunas. So the 3 skipjack, yellowfin, and big-eyed tuna. And we have been struggling, I must confess. And this is one of the challenges and the difficulties in the exercise. So we have been working since kind of 5 years, just to to agree on the main management measures. We have been, continuing with the same measures, although we have a rollover of this, but we would like, at least we hope, that this time in Cyprus. So we will finalize, because we have 2 days before the annual meeting, 9 and 10 November, just specifically for the panel 1 to meet and try to agree on the expected measures for the tropical tunas. We have also the panel 2, so the bluefin tuna and northern albacore, panel 3 only southern albacore, and the panel 4, which is all the billfishes, the sharks, etc. As I was saying in the beginning, with the expansion of the convention of the mandate, so we are covering now more species, specifically those sharks, but those are not new. They were already covered before, so the change of the amendment of the convention. So a lot is being conducted within the different panels that are really an important work, and countries decide in which panel they are mostly interested in, and are joining so the relevant panel for them also to join the discussion and participate in the decision making. So the same, one of the most important thing is whatever the measure you may take, so you need to secure them and to guarantee that they are really fully implemented. And so it is the main role of the compliance committee that is working closely with all of the countries. And the burden is here, as I said, you have a lot of requirements, reporting requirements. If you miss them, so you are, I mean, kind of starting to be identified as not complying. And this is one of the burden, but still the compliance committee is aware of this. They are working on trying to streamline so those various requirements. We are implementing one of our main projects, which is the IOMS, the online reporting for the online reporting, which is going to be based on merging more than 42 databases, but it will be an online tool that will be used, and that we hope that it will in the end facilitate so the work from the CPCs, facilitating not missing some deadlines, warning them, not having to repeat so the same information once you enter them, but just updating some key relevant information that you have to to implement. This is very important, and it's under the overview of the compliance committee, and they are working closely. We are having now to say 4 database specialists that are only dedicated to this work in developing in this, and have started the online reporting already from the CPCs. And we hope that in the end it will really make a big difference, a big improvement. And this has been supported by the FAO also, and it will be an open source tool that could be also used after when it's going to be matured. Could be used also with other tuna RFMOs that we are sharing the same project with through the ABNJ2 funds, but also with others, because they are it will be an open tool. We have so the permanent working group for the improvement of ICCAT statistic and conservation measures. So those are kind of before a proposal is matured, so or some doubts are still subsisting, so it goes through that subsidiary bodies in order to streamline and check also to make sure that all the relevant information are ready to be passed on or table to the commission. and also kind of mirroring also, checking also what's happening, what has to be updated, all those information that really the Commission needs to follow. And so this subsidiary bodies is taking care of those thing. And you see some matching with a lot, and I will take just one of them. For example, the reduction of the pollution, and you will see we have taken this recommendation that was taken by ICCAT in order to deal with the abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gears. So that FAO, following sort of the FAO also guidelines on this work. And so we have, so one of the group that we have also that met 4 times, it is the Standing Working Group on Dialogue between fishery scientists and managers. We all know that you sometimes, and not to say very often, so the both entities, they don't speak the same language. So the scientists, they keep their science, and sometimes it's difficult for them to put it in simple words that are easily understandable for the managers, for them to assist them to take the proper measures. And so the ICCAT has this standing working group. We met only 4 times, and there was mainly on the MSC procedure, the management and evaluation, sustainability evaluation procedures that was conducted with the harvest control rules. In that, because it is a process that is still undergoing, we have many species already covered by the MSC procedure, but still a lot of understanding is required because it is specific, it is very technical, very technical, with a lot of mathematics modeling, and so the commissioners needed to understand it better. We shifted a bit to sometimes webinars that we are having for the scientists to explain them, not having a formal standing meeting from the standing committee, but inviting in a panel where a species is concerned, inviting members of those panel to have a discussion with the scientists for them to explain them more about the process that is going and where they are every time in the process of developing the MSC or the management procedure. We have many working groups that are all dealing with them. We on the FATs, on the EBCD, electronic bluefin tuna catch documentation. So we have labor standards, electronic monitoring systems. So we have all of this in the CDS. As ICCAT has is planning to expand. So the catch documentation scheme, the EBCD, which concern only the bluefin tuna, to incorporate other species also. We just start working on those. And so all those working groups are intersessionally meeting and provides their advances and feedback in order to later feed on the different panels and the PWG in order to advance in developing some solid proposals for the Commission later on. And of course, the Secretariat, just mentioning here some area that we are covering, but you know all of what the Commission is deciding. So we are executing in our level, facilitating all of this. So the administration, so the coordination also with other, in cooperation with other organizations, circulating the information with the different databases we are dealing with also. The cross-listing, as we check also, we are working with other organizations through the FAO also, the ABNJ, the Tuna Compliance Network, that we are exchanging information with, and of course a lot more. I'm not going to explain you only to the work of the secretariats. We all know that on a daily basis you are receiving our many circulars, and you see how, I mean, intense. And we are sorry if you, as I said earlier, it's kind of becoming a burden as we receive some feedback from the CPCs saying that it's too much, but it's what it is, and we are always ready to continue to assist to alleviate the burden. And in this, I would like to insist on the cooperation, because as we all know, cooperation is very important. It's a collective actions that in the end, so we'll continue to make more impact. Of course, so we have to act locally, but we have to collect all our local actions in order to make it sense at relevant on all the other relevant levels. And we have many formal frameworks with many organizations that you can see. But of course, we are informally also working with a lot of more entities that are not in the list. Those are just some of which, for those with whom we have specific formal framework. And I would like to finish my presentation with just saying that with its adequate structure, ICCAT is implementing so the UNFSA, and it remains engaged in better cooperation at the relevant levels to respond more efficiently to the many emerging challenges for more sustainable fisheries. For those emerging challenges, we are facing the climate change, and we have a specific standing working group that is also dealing recently, although it's recent, less than 3 years, but still we are now fully engaged in better understanding the impact of the challenges and to see the proper responses we can make. And in the last one, if you allow, just thanking you, it's just to refer to our website and also to our compendium. As you may see, it's linked to summarizing or putting all the recommendations, resolutions, and just reminding that our recommendations are binding and the resolutions are not. But so you see many of them in the compendium, or almost the majority are largely the recommendations that are bindings. And I invite you to download it and see what is there. And it's kind of a bit heavy, 570 pages, but still you take what you want. Not all it will be interesting you. I thank you again very much, and I would like to leave it to that. Thank you again. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Manel. I would like now to hand the floor over to Dr. Yvette to discuss, present the role of the FAO in supporting the United Nations Fish Stock Agreement implementation at the regional level.
Thanks for having me. Actually, I'm presenting the experience of WECAFC, because when you say FAO, there are RFMOs also under FAO. So this is only for WECAFC side, which is a body of FAO, but a regional fishery body with an advisory function. So let me start by saying some few words on the area of competence of the Commission and the structure. WECAFC is an Article 6 body, like I said. It means that's under FAO Constitution. This is a regional fishery body with an advisory function. We are not mandated to generate binding conservation measures as our partner ICCAT just presented, but we issue management plan, recommendation, and resolution that are then taken up by members in their policy and their regulatory frameworks. So that's the difference. WECAFC, as you can see, it covers, what we call the FAO fishing area 31 and the northern part of the area 41. And this includes all the Caribbean member states, including Belize, and 20 other members. And as you will know that it is documented that most of the economically important and food security fisheries resources in the WECAFC region that are actually directed fisheries are struggling and highly migratory stocks that are under the mandate of the only RFMO which exists in the Atlantic Ocean here, which is ICCAT. But there are two exceptions, flying fish and dolphin fish, which represent actually for dolphin fish at least within the current strategic reorientation of WECAFC. It's an excellent candidate to explore region-wide binding conservation measures. So just this, because within the strategic reorientation process of WECAFC, it is forecast that it is planned that there is a convention area and a regulatory area in the ABNJ where binding conservation measures will be implemented. So dolphin fish is one of these species of interest. The structure of the commission, our objective, we promote the conservation management, but we are also more interested in the development and sustainable use for the living marine resources. And this is in line with the Bible in fisheries management and conservation, the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries, and also other emerging fisheries management and development issues that are faced by members. I will focus here as WECAFC is an advisory body, which, like I said, does not have a mandate to provide binding measures or resolution. We have two advisory bodies. The scientific advisory group, which receive inputs for review before submitting to the commission, which is the highest governing body. We have the scientific advisory group, which receive these input from the working groups. And the working groups of interest, we have 11 working groups, but 7 are of interest to the UNFSA. The flying fish, dolphin fish, the sharks and rays, the recreational, the data and statistics, the IUU, the anchored FAD and deep sea working groups that you see. So we provide technical and scientific advice on governance issues or data collection, as you say, up to the trade related issues. So in terms of the role of WECAFC and the activities that WECAFC is involved in the region, I will do a matching exercise taking as a benchmark the required measures. So the required measures for UNFSA, there are 5 measures. But I will elaborate on 4 because we do not have this mandate to do the compliance and enforcement against violators or against perpetrators of unsustainable fisheries. We do not have that mandate. So the four measures I will elaborate on will are following. The one on scientific assessment of the status of stocks. In WECAFC, the precautionary approach is frequently used. And just some example of activities under these measures, WECAFC facilitate at a regional level the reporting of the FAO, SOFIA, the State of Fisheries and Aquaculture State of Stock Index. I will just mention one workshop that we had in 2022, which was a review of the Area 31 and was specifically on this aspect. We provide scientific advice for informed management, data collection and analysis. And you see on our right, at the right of the screen, or the data collection and reference framework, which we develop in together within the firm's partnership, and was endorsed by members. And this year, actually also endorsed sub areas which which were designed to facilitate distinction of catches between and within and outside the EEZ. So this year, therefore, were endorsed at the 18th session of the Commission in 2022. The second measure on exchange of data and information on stocks and fishing activities. We produce on the eve of our plenary. I mean, we have a biennial plenary for the Commission. We produce every plenary session of the Commission what we call the mini SOFIA, which is the State of Fisheries and Aquaculture in the WECAFC region. Within the firm partnerships as well, WECAFC play an important role in terms of stock or inventories to share knowledge on national fishing activities and on priority species and related management measure. We, in terms of knowledge, capacity development as well, we do some surveys, for instance, within the framework of an EU-funded project. There was a survey on the state of the FAD, the anchored FAD of fisheries in the WECAFC region, and we share information on the status of the stock in terms of ecological connectivity between the BBN and between the EEZ and the ABNJ. Quite interesting study, the review that you can see here with the publication on your right, because when sometimes people will mention within the strategic reorientation that in the ABNJ there is nothing out there, there is something out, and there is also this connectivity between the EEZ and the ABNJ, meaning that what measures you apply in terms of conservation and management in the EEZ will affect both stocks in the ABNJ and the EEZ. So it's an interesting study, that review that I will invite you to actually have a look at. The last measures, the one on development of conservation management measures based on science and MCS of fishing activities, we develop and endorse at regional level instruments. And these instruments are important links between the implementation of international instruments and the formulation of national corresponding measures. I have cited here few of them. The regional plan of action on IUU, which is connected to the international plan of action. We have also developed and got the endorsement for the Commission in 2022 for the RPOA sharks razor, and we have been also implementing with partners in the region the international guidelines on bycatch management and reduction of discard, and this was within especially the framework of the project it was REBIC 2. We now have the REBIC 3 project on sustainable management of bycatch in Latin America and Caribbean troll fisheries. So there have been an endorsement or development and endorsement of various management plan. Here I mentioned the IFAD management plan that was endorsed at the last commission meeting, but also a monitoring guide for improved catches and improvement and improve assessment of IFAD impacts on the stocks. An important point here I would like to flesh out a little bit, and which also support what previous speakers have said. It's this point, the strategic shift within WECAFC in terms of what the instrument, the conservation management measures, non-binding that are endorsed by the Commission. What we started a couple of years ago, and we hope that the next generation of project will allow to accommodate the flying and the dolphin fish, is to coordinate at a national, at a regional level, the pilot of national, national pilot of regionally endorsed measures. This is due to the fact that there have been some prospective reviews, and we realize that many of the instruments that have been endorsed at the regional level, their implementation, how they are tailored to the national context is not that sufficient to ensure sustainability of fisheries. So there is a need for capacity building. There is a need to pilot these, how this is trickled down to the national level. So this strategic shift, we have started it with two species or related instrument like the spawning aggregation of and now on the Caribbean lobster, but relevant to UNFSA, it's the next cycle of project will be on the dolphin fish. We implement activities on in relation with fishing gear selectivity, and especially on within the RFB project, the bycatch and prohibition of destructive fishing method and practices. Regional cooperation cannot be overemphasized, and most of you previous speakers and our partner ICCAT underscored it. It is important, it is pivotal within a context of a shared stock of straddling stocks. It is important to have this regional cooperation and coordinated action within partner organization in the region in order to foster the enforcement of the measures. And we do it within project and program within our working group, participating in joint working group. CRFM and SPESCA are convening the working group of WECAFC together with the other members, which are neither member of CRFM nor SPESCA. And we have, as an example of a formalized framework of cooperation, the agreement with ICCAT, which was was said as a milestone March 2024 milestone, but actually a process which started since 2019 at the 17th session of the commission. The negotiation took a lot of time. It's lengthy, as it's used to be in all these processes which engage multiple member countries. And we have this framework of cooperation that we hope to start actually implementing in 2025, especially that we have some funding aside to plan and develop some activities. You can have more information on this the content of this exchange of letters with the objective, what we will cover in terms of planning, participate in joint working group. ICCAT actually already we participate in each of the RPOA sharks, for instance, in the development of management plan or in FAD, ICCAT have been participating in this. So we will. This is now being formalized. Data collection, joint activities, and aligning our views in relation to cooperation and coordination with relevant global processes and agreement, or what is now on the table in terms of BBNJ. I think this agreement we will put in place our strategy to jointly attend this meeting. So key takeaways, like it was said, this region, they are important stocks of, economically, socially, and environmentally important stocks in the WECAFC region that are of relevance to the UNFSA. These stocks, as you will have seen, most of them are under the only RFMO in the region, which is ICCAT, and with which we have also a partnership. And for the flying fish or dolphin fish, which is the only exception in terms of ICCAT mandate, we hope that within the strategic reorientation of the Commission, there will be this region-wide conservation measures or measure to be established. We have seen that WECAFC, even though being an Article 6 body, being an advisory body, we have been extensively involved in the development of regional instrument, supporting members in implementing them in their national framework, including the strategic shift that I mentioned right now, due to the fact that we realize that members need capacity building, they need so that they could actually translate these regionally endorsed instruments at the national level, and which instruments are essential links between the UNFSA and the national level implementation. Again, recognizing the decisive role of cooperation and coordination, coordinated action of the organization in the region for the effective implementation of the UNFSA, as we have exemplified by our agreement that the cooperation framework that we signed in March of 2024 with ICCAT in the region. So thank you. Thanks again for having WECAFC, and thanks for your kind attention. Mr. Chairperson, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yvette. I would now like to give the floor over to Carolina QUIROZ Salazar, and she will Program Manager of the United Nations Fish Stocks Agreement Project of Assistance, and she will give a review of the Project of Assistance to strengthen participation and implementation.
Thank you very much. Dear members of the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism and colleagues, today is a pleasure for me to be part of this important webinar that have brought us together to present an important topic for our present and our future generations. So in this session, I'll try not to be very repetitive on what has been said from my colleagues, but I will definitely try to highlight some important aspects of the Project of Assistance to strengthen participation in and implementation of the United Nations Fish Stocks Agreement. As it was mentioned before, is one of the capacity building projects that is currently implemented by the Division for Ocean Affairs and the Law of the Sea and the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, FAO. My name is Carolina QUIROZ, and I am the Program Coordinator of the UNFSA POA project. And today, my presentation will be focused on the description and the progress of the project until now. And before I start, I would like to highlight that it's a capacity building project with a lot of opportunities, but also with some limitations, because we are, now I'm going to mention you, like, what are the specific objectives of the project. And the first one is improving the conservation and management of straddling fish stocks and highly migratory fish stocks by building awareness of UNFSA and its central role as a framework for the management of these stocks. And the project is possible thanks to the contribution from the European Union to the assistance fund of the agreement, and has a duration of 3 years with a possibility of an extension. And I forgot to mention that before I started with the specific objectives. That's why I'm mentioning them now. But the next specific objective is increasing participation by developing states parties in the agreement. And finally, to strengthen the full and effective implementation of the agreement by its states parties. So now I would like to start with the result 1, or objective 1 of the project, which consists in the awareness raising of materials on the benefits of participation in the agreement, as well as the full and effective implementation of its provisions. And today, thanks to the work that has started 2 years ago, approximately, we have awareness raising materials on the benefits of participation in the agreement, as well as the full and effective implementation of its provisions. You can find this information in our UNFSA POA website, but you can also find this information in the UNFSA website. I'm sharing now the links to this website, but you will receive our presentation as well at the end of this session. So the UNFSA Toolkit is also another instrument that it's available and target fisheries officials and policymakers at the working level and other public interested in this agreement. So the toolkit facilitates information of the agreement, and you can access to it in the link that we are also sharing in the screen. So additionally, you can find in the website the policy briefs that are now available in Spanish, Russian, French, Chinese, and English. And these policy briefs are targeted to general public, policymakers, fisheries managers, and all the people interested in fisheries management. So in the case of the result 2, which is improved understanding of the agreement, it aims at promoting the full and effective implementation of the agreement by furthering the understanding and awareness of its provision, as I also mentioned before, through a detailed implementation guide. This is another product that has been developed through this capacity building project. And this implementation guide is for state parties and all the people who want to access to it through the website, as well as states who are also considering becoming parties to the agreement. And just to give a general overview of what is the implementation guide of the United Nations Fish Stock Agreements, this is a practical guide designed to assist states, regional fisheries management organization and arrangements, or RFMOs, and other stakeholders in the implementation of the UNFSA. So the guide will also serve as an important resource for states considering becoming parties to the agreement, as I already mentioned it. And some of the contents that you will find in this guide is information on the history and background of the UNFSA, the summary and explanation of different provisions of the agreement, including by making specific cross-references to other international instruments that had been relevant to the implementation of the agreement. And this also includes the recommendations of review conferences, the outcomes of informal consultation of state parties that have taken place in the past, and the General Assembly resolutions, and also instruments that have been developed by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. So this guide provides guidance for the implementation of the specific provisions by setting out information on relevant practice at the regional level through RFMOs and at the national level as well by state parties, and as well as by providing implementation checklists for each provision. It is an interesting instrument because it brings you examples and lessons learned from other experiences. And the structure of the guide is as follows. Chapter 1 to Chapter 3 offer an introductory background to provide the context for those users who may not be familiar with the development or scope of the agreement, or for those who are just having their first approach to the agreement. And Chapter 4 provides information on the provisions of the agreement on article by article basis. And finally, the last chapter presents summary conclusions. So just to highlight, it is a descriptive overview of the article and associated instruments and considerations in all of the topics that are included in the guide. So the guidance is drawn from sources, including the review conference and informal consultation of state parties, and the other instruments that I already mentioned in my past slide. So it also includes examples of implementation practices of RFMOs, and states are given based mainly on the responses to the voluntary questionnaire on implementation of the agreement, and which appear in the Secretary General's report to the review conference as well. So finally, in the case of the implementation checklist, refers to specific provisions of the agreement, as well as relevant matters from supplementary sources, such as recommendations, again, of the review conference and the resolutions of the General Assembly. This is also available on the website of the UNFSA POA project and on the UNFSA website. In the case of the Result 3, it aims at promoting the full and effective implementation of the agreement by furthering the understanding and awareness of its provisions. But in the case of the Result 4, which is international implementation, is promoting the agreement at the international level through information dissemination, monitoring developments of the review conference with a view to identifying potential areas on which to focus future work to strengthen implementation of the agreement. Some of the current and future activities that will be taking place are outreach activities that already started around 2 years ago, workshops for experience exchanges, online webinars, and the preparation of one intra-regional workshop, which might take place during 2025, which is one of the most important results of the project, which is strengthen capacity. In this aspect, the main objective is to strengthen capacities of developing states parties to implement the UNFSA at the national level. And to achieve this, some of the activities and actions that we have been implementing, but we will be also considering during 2025 and the rest of this year, is bilateral assistance to developing states, needs assessments, legal and policy framework reviews, policy recommendations, and national workshops to build national capacities, including policy enabling environments. Okay. And just to make a quick summary of all what I have mentioned, the achievements to date are the development of communication assets to raise awareness on the UNFSA provisions and the agreement provisions, the technical assistance to developing states, parties, and the participation in different RFMOs and other regional organizations meetings to increase the awareness on the UNFSA provisions, and also to strengthen this collaboration and this exchange of lessons learned. So some of the meetings where the project team has been participating is in the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, the South Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Organization, the General Fisheries Commission for the Mediterranean, and the Southern Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement, and finally, the Committee on Fisheries of the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. Thank you very much for your time. And I will now pass the floor again to our moderator, Mr. Park. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If we could now open the floor for a short discussion. Lucina Masima, you have your hand raised.
Just have a question in regards to the ICCAT. Just want to clarify the purpose of the ICCAT statistical document. Is this document required specifically for species managed under the ICCAT, or does it also apply to all listed tuna species being exported regardless of whether they were fished in the ICCAT region?
Thank you, Lesena. So if you are referring to the EBCD, it is the electronic bluefin catch documentation. This one is only for the bluefin tuna. We have catch documentation for the big eye tuna and for the swordfish, but those are just the documentation that exists as for now. But what the CDS I was referring to, the catch documentation scheme, is a project, and the Commission has started to discuss to see how they can expand it to have one CDS, one catch documentation scheme, incorporating so the species that the Commission may decide after. But so far, they have not. The Commission has not decided on which species they are going to take on board in the CDS. But it's a process. We have started discussions. We have specific meetings to see how it will look like and later on decide. But so far, no decision has been made on that.
Okay, thank you. The key takeaways: the United Nations Fish Stock Agreement provides a detailed international legal regime for the conservation and management of Australian fish stocks and highly migratory fish stocks. It provides a basis for international cooperation to ensure long-term sustainability of the stocks, provides for regional management of the stocks over the full geographic range of the stocks, and involves all the states with a real interest in the concerned fishery. The Fish Stocks Agreement also provides a basis for strengthening the effectiveness and inclusivity of RFMOs and agencies, regional fisheries management organizations and agencies. It provides a robust and multifaceted framework for international cooperation for combating IUU fishing, and it can help address current and future challenges to fisheries sustainability through its ongoing processes and capacity development provisions. These fisheries are high-valued species. They're very important for economic and social well-being of CRFM states in terms of employment, food, trade, etc. Balance economic, and it has to be a balance of economic and social development priorities with conservation and protection. We are SIDS, so we have limited resources and capacity. We have limited land space, but relatively large ocean space and access to marine living resources. We're mainly small-scale operations, although we have some semi-industrial fisheries operating mainly in the EZ of member states. And in terms of the total global catch, there is a very small percentage of the catch is taken by the CRFM states together, basically less than 2%. We have enhanced regional cooperation, partnerships, and technical assistance required by DIDS to address research, capacity building, and technology transfer challenges to achieve effective management and long-term sustainable and equitable benefits. And also from the CRFM Secretariat, the CCFP is in line with the Fish Stocks Agreement and enables CRFM member states to implement fundamental principles of fisheries management, develop the regional fisheries sector in a sustainable manner, including access to resources in the high seas, and cooperate internationally regarding conservation and management of transboundary fisheries resources, as well as combating IUU fishing. In relation to the key takeaways and next steps for Barbados, it was opined that countries need to tailor the UN Fish Stocks Agreement to their local context, establish realistic timelines and goals to be achieved given the limitations and national priorities, and continued participation in RFBs and RFMO is paramount. Resources need to be allocated to pay subscriptions and support in-person participation. And there has to be collaboration with countries for joint oh yes, we were discussing that there was to be a collaboration with countries for a joint statement at the upcoming ICCAT special meeting with the Commission as it relates to marlin quotas in relation to the Barbados and other countries. Belize's commitment remains dedicated to the Fish Stocks Agreement objectives. Their RFBs and RFMOs play a pivotal role in sustainable fisheries management as a designated vehicle for international cooperation that's recognized. And there has to be a balanced approach, balancing conservation goals with economic and community needs. In terms of ICCAT, ICCAT is a regional fishery management organization responsible for management and conservation of tuna and tuna-like species in the Atlantic Ocean. So it has a wide scope. With its adequate structure, ICCAT is implementing the Fish Stock Agreement, and it is engaged in better cooperation at the relevant levels to respond more efficiently to the many emerging challenges for more sustainable fisheries. For example, in this context, climate change. In the YVETTE, the importance of the stocks in the YVETTE region of relevance to the Fish Stock Agreements is recognized. The strategic reorientation of YVETTE potentially is occurring to define a robust management regime for FFDF, not on the ICCAT, and development of regional instruments, essential links between the Fish Stocks Agreement and national level implementation. But it needs for members' support and capacity to bolster implementation efforts. Decisive cooperation and coordinated actions of organizations in the region for effective implementation of Fish Stocks Agreement, as exemplified in the March 2024 framework with ICCAT. I don't know if, forgive me for that, but if Mr. Amory or Ms. Salazar might want to say a few last words in terms of what are the key takeaways from the project.
Thank you so much. Just the key takeaways for the project are that there are a lot of materials available now on the DOALOS website, particularly that of the project. And I think the project website is on the slides that were shared. And that will help fisheries managers present information on the Fish Stocks Agreement to anyone that they need to. And that there are opportunities for technical assistance. I think there are 2 slots open for 2025 for states seeking the bilateral technical assistance under the project. So if you are interested, please do reach out, and we will tell you more about what the possibilities are. So I think those are the key takeaways. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amory. Mr. Houghton has raised his hand.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. I think we had a very good summary of take-home messages. But listening to all the presentations, one of the things that I think we need to look at carefully going forward is really the unique challenges that we face as small island developing states. You know, we have limited financial resources, limited expertise, etc. And Barbados emphasized the challenges of participating in the RFMOs, for example. And to really be effective in ensuring we protect our interests and we get equitable benefits, and we have due consideration been given to our special challenges, unique dependence on the fish species in question. We really need to be at the table. We really need to be participating in the discussion and influencing the decisions regarding access, utilization of these resources, etc. And I feel that at this point, we are not doing as well as we should. And we have to look at ways of addressing these challenges. Now, I know that the agreement in principle provides some technical assistance and support, but the problem is this support is woefully inadequate, in my opinion. Much, much more is needed, especially to countries like ours, when we have to be discussing, dialoguing, negotiating with larger, more powerful, well-resourced countries and entities over sharing the benefits from the straddling or the highly migratory species in particular. So going forward, I think we need to look carefully at how we can enhance our involvement in the decision-making process, so that our needs can be squarely taken into account. So I know the provisions are there. It's just that the practice is a little different from what we had originally envisioned in terms of getting the support that we need going forward. The other thing that you know, it was mentioned, but not dealt with much, is the whole issue of climate change and ocean acidification, and the huge impact that this is having on our fisheries, all of them, whether in the coastal waters from our coral reefs or straddling and highly migratory stocks. I know that everybody is trying to look at this, but this is something that I think is disproportionately impacting us as small and developing states in the Caribbean. You know, this year has been a fairly active season, and we are very grateful that, apart from the initial impact at the beginning of the season in July, you know, we haven't been badly impacted. But you know, if this year is an indication of what the future is going to look like, we have to be extremely concerned. And it's just an area that requires a lot more attention. And you know, hopefully DOALOS, in thinking about the future, can factor in the type of support that I think we will need going forward in addressing climate change impact, to make sure that our efforts and investments are not in vain. One final point I want to make is that the CRFM agreement establishing the CRFM was inspired by the fish stocks agreement, and the agreement, and it actually speaks to and recognize the fish stocks agreement. And so, in addition to the common fisheries policy, the agreement establishing the CRFM itself recognizes the fish stocks agreement. And indeed, the fish stocks agreement is a very important, one of the most important, influential agreement, supplementing, complementing, strengthening UNCLOS, in my opinion. And within the CRFM, we have developed in other instruments dealing with spiny lobster, for example, and drawn quite a lot from the fish stocks agreement. So the fish stocks agreement, even though it's focused on straddling and highly migratory species, it has provisions, principles, standards that are widely applicable. And I think not only in the Caribbean, but beyond, it is being used and is influencing management, conservation, long-term sustainable use of resources beyond the initial intention and objective. And this is very important indeed. Final point. At this time, I think it's only 7 of our independent countries that are parties to the fish stocks agreement. So according to my calculation, Guyana, Suriname, Jamaica, Antigua, Haiti, Grenada, Dominica are not yet parties to the agreement. And I think we really need to focus on encouraging, supporting all our countries to become parties to the agreement, given its importance with respect to the highly migratory and straddling species, and indeed fisheries conservation management and sustainable use more generally. So I think this has been a very useful discussion. Those are my main points that I want to share at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Well-grounded and possibly, a very good wrap-up of the discussions, Milton. Mikel Amory, you've raised a hand, so over to you.
It's more of anything just to express a final thank you to the CRFM team and all of the other panelists for this wonderful presentation. We will, of course, when we negotiate the next cycle of the project, also take into account all of the things that Milton just said about possible other opportunities and needs for additional funding. This was the first time we have the project, but we hope that it will keep moving forward. We are, for example, working on one of the technical assistance projects right now in a national action plan for fisheries and climate change. So that is something that is currently a possibility under the project. But again, thank you everybody who participated in this webinar, and thank you for everything. Thank you.
I would like to thank CRFM, DOALOS, and everyone who was responsible for putting this webinar together, and for the for the number of participants, the panelists, presenters. The presentations were very comprehensive, informative, and we look forward to moving forward together. And I thank you all.